Not unlike other organizations and systems, graduate school has rules and processes that you must learn to navigate successfully. Each department has a student handbook containing the rules for your program. Students are governed by the program information published in the handbook for the year they begin coursework. You should download or print a copy of the handbook so you can track your progress. Your program's handbook may undergo revisions while you are in the program. However, you are only responsible for the requirements that were in place when you began your program. That is why it is important for you to keep a copy for your records. Your advisor's role is to help you navigate the rules and requirements for your program. However, you are also responsible for understanding and meeting degree requirements, adhering to filing deadlines, and any other policies and procedures that pertain to your degree program. Here are some thoughts from faculty about how to work within the rules set out for your program.
I think there's a twofold set of responsibilities when it comes to policies and procedures. One is that the university, the department has to be very clear about those, and we're constantly revising our policies and procedures to make sure that they're the most suitable and the best to achieve what we need to. But then we communicate those in the bulletin and in the various department handbooks. And it's important for students to have those and consult them because they're bound to those policies and procedures. And ignorance of the law does not necessarily help you if you break some kind of rule and you come back and say, wait, I didn't know about it, but it was right there in the handbook all along. So most of the departments that I know do a good job of handing out that handbook or pointing people to it. And I think it's important for students to regularly go back and consult the handbook to know what the rules and procedures are. If they have questions about it, then go see the staff in the department or the school, or go see their academic advisor. Don't be left in some kind of gray area or students shouldn't just be guessing about what the right thing to do, or just because their friend told them something to just count on that. Anything, especially with the formal aspects of the program, it's important to consult the handbooks, the bulletin, to make sure that you get the answers right.
It's pretty simple. We have if you can build any furniture from IKEA, you can read our handbook and know what you have to do to get through it. There's 60 units, a third of them are academic courses, so you have to take those. There's choices for each of those, but if you don't want to take those, you talk to your advisor and get your advisor to change the rules for you. You have to do a graduate show. Most people do graduate shows in the galleries. That's not even required. You can do a graduate show wherever you want. CGU is an institution, but it sure tolerates and welcomes a lot of freedom. There really aren't that many rules. Okay, the rules are you can't make work that's dangerous physically to other people. You can make work that's dangerous intellectually or dangerous mentally or psychologically. But if it's that's about the only rules. You can't make stuff that there's a good chance it's going to hurt somebody. And that's about it for rules. And you can't mess with anyone else's work physically. You can do that intellectually, but it's hands off. And those are like the two big rules, and that's about it.
The most important thing, at orientation, I show the handbook. Now this is the program handbook. It's not a CGU-wide handbook, but the forms come from the registrar's office. So luckily the registrar has a wonderful page on the portal that I use all the time, and there's forms. It's labeled really simple, and I get all the forms from there and I link them to the handbook. I also tell the students to use the portal too, because some of them don't want to look at the handbook. For the helping students do it, I tell them to look at emails from me and the registrar, because usually they are form related in a lot of ways. Like when graduation time, there's a procedure. There's a couple forms that you have to fill out as a student. So it's important to know those deadlines and know where you can find those forms and who can help you if you need help to find them. So it's really important to pay attention to those forms. I also put a lot online. I've done through Qualtrics, our survey system. I have made forms there because that way it's easy. It's a link I can send out to students and they can fill it out, and I have all the data and it stays there and no one's ruffling through paperwork. As for other things like stuff from the registrar's office, I do tend to send them to the registrar's office just because they've created the form so they can spell it out for them and explain forms. But it's most important to check your email. Number one thing, I know they get a lot of emails, but that's where a lot of that information comes from.
A mentor is somebody who really takes an interest in you and help you, grow and advance your career and to give you advice about being a professional, how to project you, how to present yourself, and all of the things often you may not know, in terms of how to apply for because I sit on a lot of national fellowship selection committees. And, and one of the things that I find with students who are successful, it's very clear that their advisors and other people have read them and vetted them before they submitted them. And you can tell the people who didn't, right? And that was one of the things, like with my students, like if you're applying for something, you need to let me know and let me read it and give you feedback and these kinds of things. You just can't blindly, particularly some national fellowship where everybody, they're highly competitive anyway. Some of these students, they submit these flawless proposals, right? And you can tell that they spend a lot of time working on them and writing them, rewriting them. And it's different from people who you can tell didn't. They just sort of blindly send something in and they just FedEx it the night before it's due. And it makes a big difference. So, it's that kind of thing, just helping students understand how to get through the maze. And also to understand, even if you don't get something, it didn't mean you weren't good.
If the student wants to make sure that they're meeting all the departmental requirements, they should also be sure what those are. And this can be done in a variety of ways. You could create a spreadsheet. I've actually seen students do that, of the requirements so that you can track it. Oftentimes, departments have a form. And you could get that form even though you don't have to. You could get it and you could keep it for yourself and keep track of what you're doing. It's also good to be aware if classes are only offered maybe once a year or even sometimes maybe even once every 18 months, because it's not only an issue of just taking the right classes, but the timing. Sometimes students come to the end and realize that the last course that they needed simply is not going to be offered in the semester that they need it. It would be better if you didn't let that happen. So if you were keeping track of the timing as well as the other things. And the staff can often be extremely helpful in that kind of regard. So they know what the typical structure of the way the courses are organized is, usually, even if your faculty don't. They may, but if they don't, the staff typically will.